this is Ray at Drop of Golden Tarot. And today is day 26 of Tarot Vlogmas. And today's prompt is what decks have gotten you through this year. And most of these decks are not going to come as a surprise to anybody who has ever watched like a favorites video of mine or followed my Instagram or anything like that, because these will be decks that you will have seen from me more than once. So my number one deck that has gotten me through the year is going to be the Goliath. And that is not going to be a surprise to anyone. This, if there was such a thing as a soul deck, I'm not sure how I feel about that word, that term, that connotation. But if there was such a thing, this would be it. I just love these cards. They are such good readers for me. They're so intuitive. They're so poignant. It's not just knowing animals. It's the situations that we are seeing them in. It is how we see them presented, and they just make sense. Look at that Tower card. I mean, how can you look at that Tower card and not understand what that feels like? That panic, that oh my gosh, the whole world is going to end feeling. I mean, it's just, just gives me all the feels. Gives me all the feels, all the meanings just by looking at the cards. So like, and this is the deck that when something's really weighing heavily on my mind, that I'm going to be thinking about it, and I have been thinking about it, and I need to probably process things. This is a deck I go to. So this has been one of the decks that have really helped me get through the year. Another one, probably won't be a surprise, is Children of Litha. And this one, and I do have the black edition, and I love rose petal finish. So, here's another deck. I love the vibrancy. I worried about this deck, and I bought it because of the colors and how gorgeous I felt it was. And I took a while. I got it at the very end of 2020, like end of November, beginning of December. And I worried about trying to read with it. I worried that because the minors are more pippish, they're not, but they're not really. I thought they kind of were, because like you can definitely see like what looks pippish, but they have scenes in them. And I think the messages come through just fine. Isn't that heart-wrenching? 3 swords. So this has been a good deck for me. It's been a go-to. I don't think, animal decks, they're not gentle, because there's nothing gentle about nature, but they're fair, and they're not unreasonably mean. You know, they're, I don't even know how to say it. So before the Goliath, I didn't have any animal decks. I didn't like animal decks. I didn't think I could connect to animal decks. And after connecting to the Goliath, I now have several animal decks that I absolutely adore and love. And I think Children of Litha was like the next one. And then I started getting some more like Tarot Renard and Merkai Tarot and White Sage Tarot. And so, and they've all been really good readers for me. And so I think the way that animals and nature is portrayed kind of tells you to it straight without being cruel, without being mean. It's just like a logical thing. Like, you know, like here's this and then here's that. Like, you do this, here's the consequence. It's not like I'm not trying to be mean, but like, it's a natural, this is how the world balances things out. This is what's called, you know, equilibrium. Like, if this happens, then this has to happen. Now, if you want this to happen, then you have to make this happen. And it's just, oh, I just love it. So, Children of Litha is another deck. Another deck that's got me through is Cosmovisions. And, you know, this is, Cosmovisions was fairly early. This is the latest edition. I think this is the fifth edition. Is that the one with the Kickstarter with the matte finish? I had an earlier edition that was glossy. I chose to get this one so it would show up better on camera. Although I don't find the colors are quite as vibrant as they were on the glossy one. My daughter has the glossy one now. But I love this deck. One, I was an art major the first time I went to college before I went into nursing. I love Impressionist paintings. I love like Monet and Degas and stuff like that. I just love that period of painting. And this reminds me of it. Two, it was when I started getting back into tarot after a long break. This deck was one that really spoke to me. I got a couple other decks before this that I really kind of was struggling with and struggling to recapture the joy that I had in tarot before. And then I got this one and it recaptured all that joy and made understanding easy again. And so, yeah, so this is, and this year is the first time I've read for somebody other than myself in years and years and years. And when given the choice, most people chose this deck. I had a couple of decks with me and people kept on choosing this deck. And the readings went well and it kind of restored my faith in my ability to read for other people. I love that Queen of Swords. She is a take no shit kind of a girl. Like, we're done messing around. I love her. So yeah, so Prisma Visions has gotten me through a lot of things this year. And it's been a confidence booster. So it's got me through some self-doubts. We'll say it that way, okay? All right. And I think the other, what other decks? Okay. This deck. And another animal deck. I've been kind of going crazy on the animal decks. I don't know. And this is a mini. This is the Oriens Tarot. And I had wanted this tarot for a long time. And didn't get it because shipping from Australia to the US like more than doubled the cost of the deck. This is by Ambi-Sun. And so I let it like stay on my wish list, but unfulfilled for quite some time. And then when I found out she was going to go mass market and all she had left were mini decks, I snagged myself one because I love independent decks. I love the quality of independent decks. And maybe this one will be good. Mass market, and maybe I'll get it even so I have a full-size one because I do love this deck so much. It's taking a minute to focus on each of these cards and really show you the picture. But yeah, this is another one that because it's a mini, it's gone places with me on this second half of this year since I've gotten it. And that in itself has got me through things because I've had like a traveling deck that I could pull out and work with at any time that I had time and that I felt like I needed to work with a deck. So this has gotten me through because of that. I have 2 Oracle decks on this list. And the first one I got at the very beginning of 2021. I had coveted it for a long time and finally decided to take the plunge and get it. And it's the Aboridium. And this actually comes with, oh, I don't have it right here with me. This comes, well, it doesn't, you can buy it with, it doesn't come with the story of Matlock the Hare, which is him. And the guidebook tells you stories from his life and the neighborhood that he lives in, Witchetdale. And it's like reading like little, oh my gosh, I just lost the word for it. Not fairy tales, but like the tortoise and the hare and the boy who cried wolf. What is that called? Like when you're telling like a moral of a story through like a little story and it's got like a hidden meaning that you're supposed to get out of it. Why am I blank on this? I don't know. But anyways, that's what this deck does. And so it tells you a little story and then you get out of it the things that you need to get out of it. And that has been so helpful for me. And so I love it. Love it so much that I got myself a Brickle Sprite. Isn't he cute? He's adorable. Anyways, got myself Brickle Sprite so he can sit on my desk and protect and be a guardian. And they don't talk, but they're good listeners. So anyways, so the Aboridium is my one oracle that has helped me out a lot this year. And then the other one has been the Shamanic Healing Oracle. And this one, okay, so the first thing that happened is I bought this one in a little witchy shop that's like an hour and a half away from me. And I brought it home and right away I noticed that all the corners, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, all the corners are bent. I don't think it's just going to show up on camera. Excuse me. I need to get a drink. Okay, all the corners are bent on this one side, like every single one. And it frustrated me. And I even went on like some Facebook group pages going, look at this. And I don't want to take it back because it's like if it had been an Amazon purchase and Amazon had to suck it, like, oh, well. Or if I bought it directly from the publisher and the publisher had to be like, oh, I dinged up the cards and so she doesn't want them. I'd been, oh, well. But I didn't want to do that to like this little independent shop. And so I was like really torn. And I actually posted them on Facebook because they're not bad. They're not bad. But my little OCD, I don't really have OCD, but I have like this little part of me that like wants things to be perfect. And so it was really bothering me. And somebody said, well, maybe that's what you need out of this deck is you need to accept the fact that it's not perfect and it still works for you. And I was like, so that was my first lesson with this deck. And then the lessons just continued. And I love the art style. I love, they are glossy. You're seeing you're going to see me back at you in the camera if we're not careful. Yeah, they're harder to photograph, harder to video, but that's okay because they're simplistic, but their messages are great. And I think for an oracle deck, a lot of my love or like how much I use an oracle deck will depend a lot upon the guidebook. And so for these 2 decks, the guidebooks have been great. And that's been really helpful in using these. So those are my decks that have helped me get through this year. What are the decks that have helped you get through this year? Leave me a note below or leave me a link to your video telling me your decks that have gotten you through this year and why they have. I'd love to know those kinds of things and to watch those kinds of videos. So this has been Ray at Drop of Golden Tarot, wishing you a happy, safe, and healthy holiday season.